information next week on how to get reimbursement. For those of you who did not get travel awards but applied, there may still be additional funds to distribute for travel awards, so hold out hope. Whatever is left over that people don't get fully reimbursed for, we redistribute that to make sure that everyone that we can support does get supported, so that coming to the forum is not a financial hardship, but it is just intellectually enriching. Again, thank you to all of the sponsors of the National Adaptation Forum. This could not happen without them, and this year it is such a democratic sponsor suite of people. We've gone from having like 1/2 a page of sponsors to now having 3 pages worth of sponsors in the program. And they do everything from helping offset the cost of the conference to keep registration low, to doing that, to providing those travel support dollars that can bring people, especially from local governments who could otherwise not come to meetings like this, to be sitting here right next to you in this auditorium. Finally, I want to thank the folks from MSlice, who are our local partner in St. Louis. I don't know if Ramona is in the room. Is Ramona here? I think she may have gone off to another important thing that's happening in St. Louis. This year in where you can make a donation, or you could contact me to find out how else you could do it. Okay, with that, the beginning of, I actually just wanted to share sort of one more closing thought about the world of adaptation. Joel Smith frequently says that when he started working on adaptation that he could fit in an elevator. Was that it? You could fit in an elevator with a small table with all the people who worked on adaptation. And I think I came into that fold when we had to add like a second chair on the other side, a second layer of chairs. But this field is growing so rapidly, it's a very exciting space to be in. And this week, getting to spend time with all of you and all the folks who've already had to come and go, people who have making it to St. Louis into their busy schedule en route between places, has just been a tremendous testament to how important this issue is becoming, and how ubiquitous it will soon be in all of our lives. And to think about the ubiquity of climate change adaptation, and to mirror what we had on the first day when we heard from the mayor of St. Louis about what St. Louis is doing on adaptation, we are lucky enough to be able to travel up the Mississippi River to La Crosse, Wisconsin now, and have Mayor Tim Kabat, who is obviously the mayor of La Crosse, Wisconsin, come and share a little bit with us about what is an initiative of cities along the Mississippi doing, thinking about climate change adaptation in their daily work. And you're going to hear about some cities that you may not think were thinking about this issue yet. So Tim, would you please come on up here and join me?
Well, thank you for the invitation to come and speak here. And my name, as Laura said, is Tim Kabat. I'm the mayor of La Crosse, Wisconsin, just up the river. I'm a member of the executive committee for the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about that. It's an effort of 68 mayors that really are up and down the Mississippi River, from the headwaters in Bemidji to the Gulf in New Orleans. And we are an association that stretches across those 10 states, whose membership includes some of America's largest cities and smallest towns. And I think that's one of the great strengths of our group, is that we really are united in viewing the Mississippi River as one system. Shaped by one of the most important rivers in the world, our cities are the laboratories of what adaptation and resilience must achieve: a sustainable economy with a beneficial impact to our natural resources and ecological services. As Mayor Slay of St. Louis shared with you on Tuesday in his video address, the Mississippi River Valley is a climate impact zone of both chronic and acute nature. We've seen more climate-related records broken in the last 10 years than in all of recorded history. And just last week, scientists informed us that the last time there were 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was millions of years ago. Just as a perspective, the Mississippi River is only 20,000 years old. Half of the carbon increase that we've seen over the last 150 years was generated from 1980 to today. And if you're a mayor of a river town like Mayor Slay in St. Louis or myself in La Crosse, all of this grabs your attention. It was one of the several reasons why I decided to join the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative. And as I said, we are an association of mayors up and down the river who are pursuing solutions to these types of problems at the local level. Mayors have to be very pragmatic because there are days when we're talking obviously about budgets and some big issues, and then there are days when you get phone calls, like in my community, for the Oktoberfest parade. We're a German community, and so we have an annual parade, and it's one of the largest parades in the Midwest. And I got a call before that saying, "Mayor, where would you like the porta potties to be placed along the parade?" So as a mayor, you really kind of deal with issues big and small. And I told him I didn't know, so I said, well, put them where you usually put them, I guess, but you just never know. The Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative is actually led by two co-chairs, Mayor Roy Buell from Dubuque, Iowa, and Mayor A.C. Wharton from Memphis, Tennessee. And the executive committee includes a member from each state, each of the 10 states along the waterway. Just a quick question. How many people in this room have enjoyed either a locally prepared food meal or have had water that's not from a bottle, by a show of hands? Pretty much everybody in the room. You can thank the Mississippi River for that. Likewise, if you have enjoyed a meal in the United States that's either been corn, a soy-based product, rice, or wheat-based, about half of those meals have the Mississippi River to thank for being a part of that. Also, if you have worked in the manufacturing, tourism, or agriculture sectors in any of those 10 states up and down the river, chances are good that you and 500,000 of your closest friends owe that job to the Mississippi River. But beyond all of the trade and production statistics is the fact that this waterway, America's River, which is only a few blocks down the road from where we are, is not only St. Louis's, but my city's greatest quality of life asset. People come from all over the world to places like St. Louis or La Crosse just because of the Mississippi River. Thus, collectively, our cities up and down the river can play a significant role in shaping natural resources and sustainability policy in this country. As an association, the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative has worked with the United States House and Senate to create and expand the Mississippi River Bicameral Caucus to 37 members. We have also completed a memorandum of common purpose with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on an agreement, and it's the only agreement of its kind between a group of mayors and the Corps founded and focused on the Mississippi River. This initiative has also relinked conservation compliance with crop insurance premium subsidies that happened in the last Farm Bill. The mayors have established a Mississippi River Sustainable Development Fund. We have also worked to secure language in the Farm Bill Manager's Report for a National Drought Council. And we've motivated now an allocation of $200 million in President Obama's fiscal year 2016 budget for pre-disaster mitigation grant funds. We have also worked to secure stakeholder commitments to pursue container shipping on the Mississippi, and we have shepherded a comprehensive partnership agreement between 18 community foundations along the Mississippi River and 7 World Trade Centers. So we've been very busy in our very short period of time, really trying to collaborate and work together as a unified group of mayors, big and small, to raise awareness about the Mississippi River. Our membership is a strong cohort of elected officials that really find more in common than we do different. And we have shared challenges living next to the riverway. For instance, all of us spend a significant amount of money on infrastructure. According to the Congressional Budget Office, state and local governments provided $320 billion of the total $416 billion spent on infrastructure in 2014, with specifically $137 billion going to water infrastructure. Infrastructure is the physicality of our economy, but our aim is to make that infrastructure more sustainable, resilient, and adaptive. That's why we are building the Mississippi River Sustainable Development Fund. We're looking for a transportation bill that supports efficient, transit-oriented transportation and also clean forms of transportation. We're looking for help with landscape resilience in our communities. We're looking for essential funding for source water protection and assistance in mitigating the impacts from climate disruption. If you want to join us and help us in the cause of resilience at the federal level, support programs like the Drinking Water and Clean Water State Revolving Loan Funds, Section 106 Water Pollution Control Grants, and the Environmental Quality Initiatives Program at the USDA. Secretary Vilsack designated the Mississippi River as the largest critical conservation area in the nation, paving the way for funding to support adaptive practices such as advanced conservation performance. If you look at the major spending in the President's proposed budget related to climate work for fiscal year 2016 that state and local governments can use, there's basically 8 programs or 8 accounts that we have access to totaling $12.4 billion. Besides the pre-disaster mitigation grant program, which is really a preventative program that is worth its weight because it's a very efficient use of taxpayer dollars. It helps cities like mine to flood-proof properties, to remove structures from the floodway, and it's a very valuable resource because it prevents spending after there's a disaster or after there's a flood. But besides this pre-disaster mitigation grant program, there are no other climate resilient accounts that interior cities like mine can tap into unless Congress funds the newly proposed NRCS Landscape Resilience Initiative. These proposals that help our cities and support the work of all of you, these proposals help to support that. So we need your support with these programs. Please set up shop in our communities and help us work on innovative solutions. Trust me, you'll have a front row seat to some of the most pressing climate disruption events that are going on anywhere in the world. And in La Crosse, I've got a real quick update. Back in 2008, our city adopted our strategic plan for sustainability. And that strategic plan was, the foundation of that plan was the Natural Step, which is an effort out of Sweden that came here to America. The focus of the Natural Step is really in 4 major goal areas, and that is to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, to reduce our use of harmful chemicals, to reduce our encroachment into nature, and to meet people's needs fairly and efficiently. Some of the highlights since that plan was adopted now a little over 5 years ago includes in our city as an organization an overall reduction of electricity, natural gas, diesel fuel, and gasoline use as a part of our fleet and our operations. That's an overall decrease, all while maintaining our programs and services really at those same levels. And I can say just on our electricity and natural gas bills alone, we've saved our taxpayers over $1.5 million since that time. Also, for many years actually before we adopted our sustainability plan, but especially since then, our city, in a very special partnership with a local nonprofit, the Mississippi Valley Conservancy, and our state DNR, has protected almost 2,000 acres of Mississippi River, the blufflands, as well as our marshlands that are in and adjacent to our city, permanently protecting these for open space, wildlife habitat, recreational resources for people, for rattlesnakes, for bald eagles, and really for all of the species that are in between. Besides the Mississippi River and the towering bluffs that border our city, we are blessed with an 1,100-acre wetland that's really located smack dab in the middle of our city. It's known as the Crosse River Marsh. And in addition to the wildlife and fish habitat and the recreational opportunities it provides, it also provides a very significant floodwater storage capability for really our larger region, which includes the Mississippi, the Black, and the La Crosse rivers. Right now, we are working on 3 wetland restoration projects. One, which is an urban restoration adjacent to our downtown, and the 2 others are to basically turn what had been farmed back into wetlands. These projects will help to restore more than 100 additional acres of the La Crosse River Marsh, and the programs like the pre-disaster mitigation grant funds, the wetland payment in lieu of programs and the like allows the city to do the work that we do. I lost my place. I'll find it. Okay. So to close here, to kind of wrap up, the MRCTI, or the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative, is the only association that's comprised of elected officials that's centered on the Mississippi River's entire length. And I think, again, that's what makes it our greatest strength. This uniqueness brings value that we as mayors can leverage with more torque than most other associations, but we can't do it alone. The MRCTI has galvanized our ability to be elected entrepreneurs, innovating advanced conservation policy and performance in the public sphere for America's great waterway. And I will conclude with this. The United Nations, as we know, will be convening their meeting of the parties, the COP21 in Paris this December. We have partnered as a group of mayors with the Embassy of the Netherlands to assemble a delegation of Mississippi River mayors to attend the UN climate meeting. We have been in conversation with the State Department for the purposes of orchestrating an international sidebar with the other major river basins in the world, including the Amazon, the Parana, the Rhine-Danube, the Volga, the Ganges, and the Euphrates, Tigris, and Yellow Rivers. The purpose of this sidebar, and it's a very exciting opportunity, would be to outline the significant components of an agreement to protect the environmental integrity around all of these major river systems. I would like to, at this time, very quickly introduce the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative Director. He is here, our Executive Director, Mr. Colin Wellenkamp. If you could please stand up, Colin. Let's give him a round of applause. And Colin and our offices are based right here in St. Louis. I had the pleasure today, I've been to St. Louis a few times, but today was my first time having toasted ravioli. So those of you who are from St. Louis, you know what I'm talking about. Very delicious. I mean, we're all people, right? It's partly about the food when we come here, right? So, I mean, come on, we can be honest. So the river poses challenges because it can end development just as easily as it can begin it. However, it is our job to learn how we can live with the river, and that's important. How we as people and as communities can live with the river and not the other way around. If we're going to reap the benefits of this valuable ecosystem and economic engine, we must work just as hard to take care of it and to preserve it and to cherish it. Just as Johnny Cash in his song sang, "We follow you, big river, when you call." So thank you very much.
The mayor has kindly agreed to stay until afterwards to take personal questions from participants. Now for something completely different.
And snap it. Oh, that was good.
Welcome to the National Adaptation Forum.
We have created a phenomenal network of people all across the country and now all across the world. We have great challenges ahead and the stakes could not be higher, but we have so many reasons to find hope just within this room.
We have this hunger and vision for change.
We have to be thinking bigger than just our individual place, our individual community, our individual project.
It's kind of like a big family reunion, but I haven't met half my family.
So I really want to have fun while I'm here. So everybody's hands, if you're not in there, you're having fun. Okay, thank you.
If sea level rise is predicted with high certainty in your area, are you going to wait for it, or what are you actually doing?
As cliche as it is, the future of adaptation does lie with me.
What I'd like to learn over the next several days is more effective ways to have the commercial sector and the public sector partner for climate preparedness.
There's a coffee cup, and if you send me an email or go to my website, I'll tell you how to get one. When you put hot liquid in it, it shows what's going to disappear when all the ice melts.
I am an eco-warrior. I am not here to do everything. I am here to do something. So that when my daughter asks me, what did you do when the earth was unraveling? I have a damn good answer. I did something. What's your something?
We tend to hug rivers. We love trees.
I just want to let you know that I have mild social anxiety, and I'll be sort of, standing against the wall, but I'm very interested in talking to anybody about what crazy ideas you have. So, Ted Wong, I look like this. Please come talk to me.
I hereby proclaim that this be the National Adaptation Week in the city of St. Louis on behalf of Mayor Slay.
The two questions that I want people to be able to answer at the end of the forum with conviction and plan is what did they learn when they were here, and what are they going to go home and implement in what they're doing. There's a component of adaptation that, as a wonderful woman, Charity Hicks from Detroit, used to call it, running naked out of your silo is important. But there's also the important piece of meeting people where they already are clothed in their silos. The format that we use for the National Adaptation Forum is a format that a lot of people are comfortable with for information exchange.
There are a lot of young people learning about climate change, getting their advanced degrees, and spreading out into the hinterlands to talk to regular folks on the ground in the cities, in the county, and the regional level, and that gives me a lot of hope.
The greatest need was for our communities to be included in planning, to be included in the decision making. There is an antiquated top-down paradigm that exists, and we wanted to shift that.
Test if the mic's on. Yes.
Hello?
All right, we've got the stalwart few remaining to the very end. This is great. I'm Amy Delac with Defenders of Wildlife.
I'm Jennifer Gerardo, Director with Broward County Government in South Florida.
And Lara very clearly laid out a charge for us in that video, and in this last remaining town hall plenary, we'd like to invite you guys to come up, as we did at the beginning, and tell us in 1 to 2 minutes, no longer,
I thought it was 45 to 60 seconds.
Okay, 45 to 60 seconds. That's even better because we have just under an hour left, and I know a lot of people have planes that they want to catch. What did you learn at the National Adaptation Forum, and what are you going to do when you get home with the information that you learned? So I will start. I learned that we are really moving up the ladder of adaptation engagement from the last time. I learned about results of projects that were being in the planning stages last time. Strategies are being implemented, and now we're talking about metrics and indicators to measure our success, and I think that's great. And I'm going to take home a redoubled effort to work on endangered species adaptation for climate change.
Excellent. You know, it's funny because I look at the video and I think, well, I'm hardly learning anything. It was all delivered to me up front with the comments that everyone made. But I think what really resonated with me is the extent to which all of us are truly trying to tackle the challenge of working across the multiple scales that are necessary to be effective on adaptation, maximizing the relationships and the networks that we have available to us, and working across diverse sectors. It just resounded across all the presentations, really highlighting that commitment, the effort, and the magnitude of resources that are being brought to bear on each and every one of our efforts and projects across the nation. What I'll do different, or what I'll do when I go back home, follow up with the contacts that were made, and just extraordinary resources and expertise that I can't wait to take advantage of back home. Also, to serve as a resource to the extent to which what I was able to deliver helped to create perhaps some ideas and inspiration of how others might be able to employ what we're doing in South Florida in their efforts. And then thirdly, it really reinforced for me the commitment to go back and make the relationships with the economic development community and the commercial industry be more prevalent in the way that we're talking about climate adaptation and what needs to happen next.
Outstanding. With that, let's invite you guys to come up. Let's start with the outside mics, just so that we can see each other more easily. And if we do end up with lots of lines of people, then we can move to the center mics as well. But please come on to the outer mics first.
And if you're too shy, Jenny and I are going to bring the mics to you.
Would you like the microphone?
Yes. Should I go first?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I learned that I'm so appreciative of both our coalition in the Bay Area that's working on climate, on issues of adaptation and resilience, but I'm also really appreciative of this forum. And one of the things that I learned was that there are a lot more people than I thought who are interested and committed to promoting inclusion in this field. In 2040, the majority of people in this country will be people of color. And we have a window of opportunity to make sure that as we invest in ideas and in support for communities, that we are engaging those communities who have been excluded from this conversation. So I learned that it is really possible. I have what Joanna Macy called active hope. When I return to the Bay Area, I will talk to my colleagues and those people who are actually engaged, as the RCI group is talking to its colleagues. And we have, I think we have on our hands a need and a commitment to really build this alliance. And I learned when I came here to this forum that we also have a competing set of priorities. Our communities are under stress. We are dealing now with huge consequences of the sort of malformation of our police state, with the runaway killing of black men, which is really sucking a huge amount of energy from our communities. And that if we could actually partner with building an alliance between communities of color and the issues that we have, we could not only achieve what we want to achieve with climate resilience, but we could also begin to put a dent in poverty, which is one of the really important sources of exploitation of the environment. So I learned that that is all possible, and I am committed to working with you and with our Resilient Communities Alliance to make a dent in that issue.
Thank you so much.
You can go Lady Dole all on your own if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any lines forming. That means I think we have to come around and put some people on the spot.
There we go.
What did I learn? I love this community. You guys are awesome. I thought the interdisciplinary communications or the conversations were absolutely fantastic. But at the same time, I was a little lonely. I didn't meet anyone else here in finance. So I think what I'm going to step away with, I'm going to implore you to have me help you bring my friends, because I heard a few people talk about funding, and I think I'd like to help.
Great, thank you.
I got here a little late. Could I hear the questions, please?
And the two questions were, what did you learn from the National Adaptation Forum in the last couple of days, and what will you go home and do as a result of your experience here?
Ooh, good. Well, what I learned was, first of all, that there was a national organization called the National Adaptation Forum, and that this was an organization that has brought, a trade association that has brought together the scientific community, and hopefully will be working more towards diversifying your industry so that it becomes our industry as well. So I was happy to hear a lot of discussion around social justice and equity, which is very, very important. So what will I do with this, what I've learned here? What I would do, what I learned here and take back to my community is to more effectively do the organizing work around climate change so that it is, and I can do that more intelligently now, which is a good thing, but also to share the, what I've learned from other advocates that are working in communities like my communities in the north side of St. Louis. But we would definitely implement the cake in our community. Our organization, as everyone probably knows now, is M-Slice. Now we're going to get a slice of the cake. Thank you.
Excellent.
Hello, I'm Jane from Nigeria. Being here is just like a wake-up call for me. Thank you. It's like a wake-up call to me, and I'm going to take that home and do all my best to convince the skeptics that believe that there's nothing like climate change, that climate change is real and is happening. And I'll be able to achieve that with the help of each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tish Levy from Sonoma County. One of the things I've learned is all the wonderful stories. We're doing some real cutting-edge stuff in Sonoma County, and it's so wonderful to hear all the great things that are happening everywhere, because so often we think we're just preaching to the choir, and now I feel like I'm part of a choral symphony. Thank you all. I've also learned some wonderful things about how to bet. I'm a writer, so I'm not affiliated with any organization. I'm a reporter, and I've learned better ways to communicate about climate change, and one of them is that often you need to not use that word. Believe it, even if you're in California and not in Florida. But I've learned some good techniques. I've made some really wonderful contacts. I've got a lot of good story ideas. When I go home, I will be putting these into my paper. I will also be sharing a lot of information from here with 4 or 5 colleagues from government agencies and NGOs who could not come to this conference, and I got to because I was pressed. But but the other thing I'm hoping is that I can take some of this and start moving out of my comfort zone, which is writing for a local paper, and breaking out into a larger media pool and getting the word out across more places. There are some fantastic stories here. I've heard incredible stories, and I have so much hope when I come to something like this and I see all of you and all of us together, and what a difference we are making. We are the hope of the future. Thank you.
Hi, I am from Florida. Climate change, climate change, climate change. Woohoo!
Okay, so what did you learn and what will you go home and do?
Hi everyone, so I think I can just talk a little bit from the perspective of a student, as I don't see many of us here. So I'm a graduate student at Columbia, so I got interested in climate change adaptation, and I was trying to learn, like take classes in school in this topic, and I realized that even at Ivy League school, there wasn't any course that could fit into my interest. So, and then I came to this conference, and I realized that real school is actually outside of school, and there's just so much to learn outside of school, and I was amazed because I always thought, you know, a top Ivy League school is the place to learn what you need to learn, but I guess I was wrong. And also, yeah, I feel like before I came, I was always trying to understand, like, to solve these problems, what knowledge you need. So I was taking classes like in engineering, science, policy, kind of like everything. But now I realize that you don't need to know everything because there are people who are expert in one of this, and what we need to do, who are good at like interdisciplinary topics, we need to learn to how to combine all this knowledge and take advantage of all the people and knowledge. And I really hope that more students would join me and become interested in this topic. So the next generation is the hope, like everyone says. Thank you.
Great responses, great feedback. We have another spokesperson coming up to the mic. Those who are maybe reluctant to walk all the way up to the front. Ah, very good, excuse me.
It's okay, Jennifer. I know I'm easy to miss. I'm John Nordgren. I'm from Seattle. And I think this gathering made me feel like this group is both getting bigger and smaller at the same time. There's a lot of familiar faces, and I wonder how many of you might be enlisted to encourage your workmates and your co-collaborators at home to come to the next one, because we need to keep growing this field, and we need to keep talking to each other. One of the things that I've noticed in having done this for a while now is that we're starting to say a lot of the same things in a lot of the same rooms. I moved around to a lot of sessions. Didn't go to as many as I would have liked because a lot of the conversations and the best things that happen at these places tend to happen in the hallways in the great room. And I enjoy that, and I make the most of it. I see other people doing it too, and I think that's great. But I think that what I take away from the fact that I see a lot of the same things happening in a lot of different places is that we need to start doing more to connect people who are doing the same things in different places one to another. We need to find ways, mechanisms, means for sharing what we are doing and the strategies that we're having at a greater interval than every 2 years. And the regional forums are a good venue for that, but I hope that you will take some of the cards that you find in the hallways and in your pockets from this week and really follow up with the people that you connected with. I'm going to do that when I get home, and I hope you guys will too.
I'm also from Florida, and I'll echo what my colleagues said, climate change. But besides that, when I first started doing this kind of thing, I don't know, about 10 years ago, it was a very small family, a dysfunctional family, but very small. I'm glad to see that this dysfunctional family has grown, and we all now share the same problems, I've learned. But the thing is, as we come to more and more of these, we start to hear that there are more solutions. And that's really encouraging and provides a lot of hope. And we're sort of building on that momentum. So what I plan to take home is, I heard this quote, and it's from Max Brooks, who is the son of Mel Brooks, and he's a famous zombie hunter. And he said, the thing about zombies is that they don't think and they don't adapt. When I go home, I promise not to be a zombie.
Okay, hi everybody. I've learned many, many things. My name is Alex Gore, I'm with EcoAdapt. I learned that it takes a village to put a program and an event like this together. I learned that it was really challenging to combine sessions, but they were successful. And we were looking outside of silos and working with different partners that people didn't work with before. I learned that you should fish smarter and not harder. And what I'm gonna bring back is the biggest piece that I learned and I will cherish is that it takes heart to do what we do. And I'm committed to working with MSlice. I was touched by the community forum last night. There was tears flowing, and it takes a person with a vision and a commitment and a resilience, and nothing is going to stop that woman. And she will move the world, and I hope I can be there to see it. So.
Hi, I'm Gwen from Oregon. I learned about a lot of successful adaptation projects that have happened in really challenging places, and that was inspiring. But I think it's also important because a lot of us face the same challenges no matter where we're from, whether it be policy, funding. You all know what the challenges are. And these projects show how you can overcome those challenges and how to think outside of the box. So even if it's not coming from the top down, all these small projects really make a difference. And so when I go home, I'm gonna work to really bring attention to the successful projects that we've had and hopefully ones that we'll have in the future. And I hope that you all do the same with your projects. Get them highlighted, get them out there, talk to newspapers and people so that there can start being more recognition to get some of the changes to the obstacles that we face.
I'm Paloma Pavel with Breakthrough Communities and the Resilient Communities Initiative in the San Francisco Bay Area. And things happen for me on different system levels. There are definitely shifts and things that unleashed, like supernovas in my brain from being here. I feel smarter than when I came. I also feel more connected to our own Bay Area group that came here, our coalition. I feel like bringing the best of what we know to you was a way of also strengthening our own cohesion. I also learned and am seeing embodied representations of what is possible in different parts of the US and around the world. And I think the other thing, as much as I met people who were brilliant and had vast hearts and learned about scientists who are committed to equity and the importance of fusing climate change with climate justice, and that this group is capable of that and wants that to a large extent, was very heartening to me for where we need to go. But I think I learned something about, as much as any one of us is brilliant inside of ourselves, something about the spaces between, that this issue is so vast and is calling us, and it's time for us to act our age, 14.7 billion years old, and grow up and hold the spaces between us, because that's where the intelligence will arise beyond what any one of us or any one of our organizations is capable of doing. Thank you.
I know there must be someone else out there who learned something. Come on.
The mic will come to you. Okay.
Hi folks, I'm Garrett. I learned about some very specific ways in which local governments and organizations, community organizations in their cities can work together on real, equitable climate preparedness work. And I learned that if you put a whole bunch of them in a room together, that they'll learn about all those things too. They'll learn a lot more than they ever imagined they would when they applied to come, and that they'll all leave very committed to doing that. And my commitment going home from here is to continue to work with folks in cities to continue to see that value and to find ways to bring this kind of community engagement and integrate equity into their work going forward.
I think, I just want to provide another comment as it relates to some of the dialogue that I heard. I had the ability to sit down last night with a couple of journalists who had received, sponsorships in order to be able to participate over the last several days. In fact, I spoke with many, and they were so immensely appreciative of the opportunity to engage in the conversation here, and many of them are working in environments where, it's a little bit more restrictive. And I thought that I was also able to help connect who I know are really celebrated communicators who are here today with some of those same people, and so that they might get together and think a little bit more about opportunities to engage in communications with, different techniques and languages. And it's just, really enriching again to see all the various areas in which individuals are working, and you don't necessarily anticipate the way in which some of the people sitting next to you can help improve, the process or your own activities. And so it was just, again, really rewarding to hear that, as well as the observation of how many people were really impacted by the discussion of equity, and that it really was, a thread that ran through so many of the sessions. And I think that the forum did a tremendous job in making that a really prominent part of the conversation this year.
Well, I'm Lisa Friend from Boulder County, and I learned a lot about ag, about resilience, and how much I love this work and the people I work with. But the real reason I'm here is to give the response to that 3 climate change professionals walk into a bar joke that I've been incubating for a couple of days. So 3 climate change professionals walk into a bar, the next 3 duck, and everybody else finds a way to raise the bar because we're adaptation professionals.
Hi, everyone. So I'm short. My name is Sunshine, and I'm here with Metcalf Institute from the University of Rhode Island that organized this program that Jennifer spoke for and just mentioned. And I wasn't planning to say anything until you made that last comment. I learned a lot while I was here. I think the biggest lesson is just the immense scope of what is happening in the adaptation field. But the thing that I'm going to do when I go home is what I really wanted to share with you, and that is that I've already talked with Lara about the fact that we're going to figure out ways to do a lot more programs for journalists around the country to make sure that they're actually covering these stories. And that's what Metcalf Institute does, so we're going to figure out a way to make this happen.
Laura pulled an old Indian trick and snuck up on me. My name is Mike. I'm from Montana, and I came actually as a presenter on the panels to share our strategic planning process. And every time I come to something like this, I do learn. And the one thing, with having the dialogue with and listening to different people sharing their stories with me, and that's basically how we learned as tribes and people in the past from sharing stories. So that's how we continue to learn. The only thing, and somebody asked me about the presentation I talked about, one of the elders that I interviewed had said that his grandparents had told him about the changes that were coming, and the oceans were going to rise and the temperature was going to get warmer. So that's like 80 years ago that was going on, that they told this story. But she asked me if the elders also are saying, how do we fix it? And there is no magic bullet. We just all got to pull, do what we can, and I've heard so many people say that. Coming together and trying to make a difference. And for me, it's like reconnecting, becoming part of the sacred circle once again, and not taking ourselves out of it. We are part of the circle. We can't be separated from it. So that's what I'm taking home. Thanks.
I think another thing I'm going to take home is a reminder of how important it is to continue to work to mitigate climate change as we think about the possible futures that we're going to have to adapt to.
The adaptation mavens have a 2-minute comment to make. May we have the next slide, please? See, any one of you could have made a slide with your talking points had you sent it in ahead of time. They're working on it. There we go. So, the crowdsourced good adaptation pledge.
I pledge to create a durable future for my community and the environment, at home and at work, by thinking about the future in all I do. I commit to use the best
available science and knowledge, considering present, past, and future conditions in my actions.
Decide with, not for. Invite, recruit, and promote the broadest diversity of partners and stakeholders in conversations and decisions in my community.
Build climate equity, work to ensure the equitable sharing of the benefits of resilience building and the equitable bearing of the costs of climate change.
Safeguard integrity, ensure transparency, accountability, and follow-through.
Minimize harm. Evaluate how actions might affect other people, living things, places, goals, and endeavors to minimize adverse impacts while maximizing common benefits.
Be honest about the challenges. Give voice to the fact that resilience requires adaptation to create it and mitigation to maintain it.
Foster an inspired community. Use the knowledge that a long-term plan vision that engages and inspires the community tapping into hope and creativity. This is the challenge of crowdsourcing, people.
But next year, we will have tap shoes for everyone. Adapt holistically. Your community is affected by and affects the world around you. Go forth, adapt, and multiply.
Or not.
So are we going to see you all at National Adaptation Forum 2017?
And Amy's already pressing for where she wants it.
Well, I love the idea of keeping it along the Mississippi River, this great artery through the center of our nation, which also happens to be relatively easy for everyone else to get to. There's a whole bunch of cities along the Mississippi River. We have plenty to choose from. I went to a meeting last summer in Minneapolis, and I loved it. It had light rail. It was walkable. It was beautiful. It'll probably be nice in May. Think about it.
Think about it. Place your votes. We're saying Minneapolis is a good choice. Okay, well, thank you all very much for joining us. Remember, if you want to make a donation to MSlice, please do so. Oh, we have one more comment.
And if you can't wait for Minneapolis, come to Sacramento in 2016. California Adaptation Forum, second one.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Woo! That is right. So next year, there are regional adaptation fora all around the country. The 4 that happened last time all sound like they're going to happen again, and there's been rumor of 2 more, so stay tuned. And if you live in an area that doesn't have its own regional adaptation forum, jump in and start it, because that's how all of this happens. Take care, travel home safe.
Thank you. Safe travels.